the hum is the first thing you notice and the last thing you forget. It's a sound that exists just below the threshold of conscious hearing, a resonant bass note played by the station itself. It is the sound of a million unseen systems working in perfect, life-sustaining harmony. It is the sound of safety, of distance, of a world held at arm's length. You stand on the observation deck of the astral bloom, a name that suggests organic beauty, but is realized in sterile, calculated perfection. The floor beneath your worn sea boots is a deep indigo carpet, so plush it feels like walking on condensed twilight. It swallows the sound of your footsteps, leaving you in a bubble of profound silence, punctuated only by that ever-present hum. Polished chrome railings, cool and unyielding to the touch, trace the perimeter of the vast, curved space. They gleam under the soft, diffused light that emanates from the very structure of the deck. A clever trick of engineering that illuminates without causing a single distracting reflection on the transparent shielding. And the shielding is everything. It is a wall of absolute clarity, a seamless pane of diamond-fused polymer that separates the perfectly recycled, temperature-controlled air you breathe from the lethal, beautiful vacuum beyond. Through it, the cosmos is not a distant spattering of lights, but a living, breathing tapestry. Nebulae, vast clouds of nascent stars, bloom in impossible hues of magenta and cyan. Distant galaxies spiral like diamond dust spilled on black velvet. A binary star system, locked in its gravitational waltz, pulses with a rhythmic, hypnotic light. One partner a fierce blue-white, the other a blood orange. This is the starlight serenade, the unparalleled view for which the wealthy and powerful pay fortunes. For you, it is just a reminder of how deep the dark can be. You lift a hand, tracing the cool surface of the shield. Your fingers are calloused, the nails trimmed short and practical. They are a mapmaker's hands, stained with the faint, indelible ink of countless charts, accustomed to the grip of a stylus and the rough texture of hydro paper. Here, against the flawless perfection of the bloom, they look alien, like tools brought into a museum. A service bot, a sleek chrome teardrop gliding on a cushion of air, silently approaches. It extends a delicate manipulator arm, offering a tall, fluted glass of water. Condensation beads on its surface. You take it, the chill a welcome shock against your skin. The bot emits a soft, melodic chime and glides away. You bring the glass to your lips, and the water is exactly as you remember from your last mandatory surface leave. Crisp, clean, so pure it's almost tasteless. It's the taste of manufactured perfection, a stark contrast to the recycled, mineral-heavy water of your submersible, the Nautilus Echo. Your gaze drifts from the cosmic spectacle back to your own reflection, a ghostly superimposed image on the stars. You see a figure etched with a weariness that has little to do with physical exhaustion. Your eyes, accustomed to the crushing dark of the abyssal plane, are narrowed, constantly scanning, analyzing. Your focus is a tangible thing, a force you project onto the world. It's what makes you the best obsidian cartographer of this generation. It's also your curse. Around your neck, on a simple, saltwater pitted silver chain, hangs a small, unassuming weight. You pull it from beneath the collar of your functional, dark gray shipsuit, the Stardust locket. It rests in your palm, no larger than your thumb, its surface a swirl of dark, fused silicates that seem to drink the ambient light. It was collected, the story goes, from the cooling remnants of the Vela supernova, a ghost of a star forged into a keepsake. It feels warm, a constant, gentle heat that bleeds into your skin. Closing your eyes, you focus. You push aside the charts, the depth calculations, the pressure tolerances, the 1,000 technical details that usually occupy your mind. You think of a name, a face, Alara. The locket in your palm pulses with a sudden, intensified warmth. You open your eyes and look down. Within its dark, glassy depths, a faint, iridescent image begins to form. It's her. Her hair, the color of spun copper, seems to float around her face. Her smile, a little crooked, utterly genuine. Her eyes, the color of a shallow sea over white sand. The image is silent, fleeting, a ghost made of light and memory. It doesn't move, it just is. A perfect, heartbreaking moment, captured and held across the gulf of time and tragedy. The sea serpent's kiss, her ship, your loss. The reason you chart the endless dark. Not for relics, not for history, not really. For this, for the hope of finding what's left of her. The image flickers and fades, leaving the locket a simple, warm piece of fused dust once more. A hollow ache blossoms in your chest, familiar and cold. This is your ritual. You look out at the impossible beauty of the universe, and you fill the void with her. It is in this moment of profound, personal silence that it happens. It's not a sound. It's not a vibration. It's a sudden, violent intrusion into the sanctum of your own mind. A jolt, sharp and electric, races up your spine. The view outside dissolves into a nauseating blur. Your breath catches in your throat. For a terrifying second, you are no longer yourself. You are drowning in an emotion that is entirely alien, yet overwhelmingly potent. A crushing, suffocating wave of guilt. It is bitter as bile, cold as the abyss. It's followed by a surge of something else, a grim, white-knuckled determination so fierce it feels like it could crack bone. And beneath it all, a current of grief so raw, so deep, it mirrors your own, yet feels fundamentally different in its texture and taste. You stumble back from the transparent shield, your hand flying to your head. The glass of water slips from your other hand, shattering on the deck with a sound that is shockingly loud in the engineered quiet. The indigo carpet immediately begins to absorb the spill, darkening in a rapidly spreading stain. A face flashes behind your eyes. Not Alara's gentle memory, but a new image, sharp and unwanted. Older now, but unmistakable. High cheekbones, a stubborn jaw, eyes like chips of storm gray flint. A spray of freckles across the bridge of a nose that looks like it's been broken at least once. Brenna Maelstrom. The name surfaces from the deep wreck of your past, tangled in memories of shared childhoods on grimy port cities, of promises made and broken. The memory is sharp with the salt spray of the sea and the acrid sting of betrayal. You haven't seen her in years, not since the inquiry, not since you both walked away from the wreckage of your lives after the sea serpent's kiss went down. The feeling recedes as quickly as it came, leaving you gasping, your heart hammering against your ribs. The world snaps back into focus. The stars, the chrome, the spreading wet patch on the carpet. You are yourself again, but the echo of that alien emotion, that crushing guilt, lingers like a phantom limb. What in the hell was that? Your datapad, clipped to your belt, chimes with an incoming notification. Your first instinct is to ignore it, to try and process the violent mental intrusion. But the chime is insistent. With a shaking hand, you unclip the thin, translucent device and activate it. The screen illuminates your face with a cool, blue light. It's a newsfeed alert from the system's sprawl network. The headline makes the blood in your veins run cold. The LUMINA incident, resonance bonding tech implicated in Stargate catastrophe. Is empathic linkage a weapon or a wonder? You scan the article, your mind racing. It describes a newly discovered, highly experimental phenomenon. Resonance bonding, a form of empathic linkage, facilitated by residual energies from the new Stargate technology, interacting with latent biological markers in certain individuals. It allows for the sharing of raw emotional states, nonverbal insights, even flashes of sensory data across vast distances. It's unstable, unpredictable, and now it's the prime suspect in the catastrophic failure of the Stargate that vaporized the exploratory vessel Starseeker and its entire crew. The engineers blame sabotage. The biotechs blame a cascade empathic failure. The article is full of speculation, fear, and the names of the dead. You look down at your own hands, half expecting to see them glowing. That jolt, that flood of emotion, that face, it wasn't a memory. It wasn't a hallucination. It was a connection, a bond, to her. As if summoned by the thought, a second notification appears on your datapad. It's not a news alert. It's a direct, encrypted message. The sender ID is a string of garbled code, but you don't need it. You already know who it is. Your thumb hovers over the accept icon, a profound reluctance warring with a desperate need for answers. You press it. The message decrypts. It's short, blunt, and utterly characteristic of the Brenna you remember. I felt it too. I know you did. Don't pretend you didn't. I'm going down. To the Sunken City. There's something there, something that can answer for what happened to the kiss. I know you're looking too. Meet me. Port Caligo, the Drowned Rat Tavern, 48 hours. We finish this. The message ends. No greeting, no sign-off. Just a command, an ultimatum. You stare at the words, the cool light of the datapad feeling like an interrogation lamp. To discover the lost relics of the Sunken City. That has been your stated goal, the public justification for your solitary, obsessive dives into the crushing black of the Obsidian Sea. It's the lie you've polished until it shines like truth. But your real quest, the secret, jagged shard of purpose buried in your heart, is for the sea serpent's kiss, for Alara. And now Brenna, the one other person who carries the weight of that day, is dragging it all back into the light. Her message isn't just a challenge, it's an affirmation of this bizarre, invasive connection between you. This resonance bond, it changes everything. Your solitary quest is no longer solitary. Your private grief is no longer private. The careful walls you've built around your obsession have been breached. You look past your reflection, out at the cold, silent stars. They offer no answers. The faint hum of the station suddenly feels less like a sound of safety and more like the vibration of a cage. Brenna is going after the same ghosts you are, but her guilt, the raw, potent force of it you just felt, promises a reckless, dangerous path. And now, you're tethered to it. You close the datapad, the screen going dark. The choice isn't really a choice. You can't chart the depths of the Obsidian Sea with her emotions crashing through your skull. You can't search for Alara's ghost while being haunted by a living one. You have to go down, back to the grit, the salt, and the crushing dark, back to Port Caligo, back to her. The air in Port Caligo is a thick cocktail of salt, ozone, and decay. It coats your tongue, a gritty film that the pristine water of the astral bloom couldn't wash away. The descent from orbit was a jarring transition from silent perfection to chaotic reality. The shuttle rattled and groaned, a battered workhorse, a universe away from the luxury liners that serviced the bloom. Now, standing on the rust-stained ferrocrete of the landing platform, the difference is absolute. Overhead, a perpetual, bruised gray sky is choked with industrial haze and low-scudding clouds, a permanent ceiling that traps the smells and sounds of the port. The sun is a pale, sickly disk, its light struggling to pierce the gloom. This is the world as you've always known it, the world you escape from, not to. The soaring arcologies of the inner continent are a distant dream from here. Port Caligo is a frontier town, clinging to the edge of the world's most dangerous, uncharted abyss, the Obsidian Sea. The drowned rat is exactly as you remember it, and exactly as its name suggests. Tucked into a narrow alley reeking of stale synthale and fried fish, its sign is a flickering neon monstrosity depicting a rodent in a diving helmet, one bulb buzzing spasmodically. You push through the heavy, waterlogged door, and the noise hits you like a physical blow. The low-ceilinged room is packed with off-duty rig workers, freelance salvagers, and submersible pilots, your people. The air is thick with smoke, sweat, and the shouting of a dozen conversations, competing with the mournful, synthesized wail of a sea shanty playing over the bar's sound system. You scan the room, your eyes adjusting to the dim, amber light. Your gaze sweeps past grizzled men and women with pressure-scarred hands, past tables cluttered with empty glasses and greasy plates. And then you see her. Brenna Maelstrom is sitting in a booth in the far corner, half shrouded in shadow. She is nursing a glass of something dark and potent, her posture rigid. The years have been sharp. They have honed her, chipping away any softness that might have existed in your shared memories. Her hair, once a wild, sun-bleached mane, is now cropped short and practical. A fresh, livid scar cuts through her left eyebrow, a white line against her weathered skin. She wears a patched, armored pressure vest over a simple gray thermal shirt, the attire of someone who expects trouble and doesn't bother to dress for anything else. The Iron Pilgrim. The name fits. She looks like someone on a penitence journey, seeking not grace, but a reckoning. As you approach, her eyes lift and lock onto yours. There is no flicker of recognition, no warmth, just a flat, assessing stare. Through the faint, background hum of the resonance bond, you feel a spike of something. Not her emotions this time, but the feeling of her recognizing you. A cold jolt of shared history, a sudden awareness of the immense, silent weight of the years that lie between this moment and your last conversation. You slide into the booth opposite her. The worn synth leather of the seat groans in protest. For a long moment, neither of you speaks. The cacophony of the tavern fades into a dull roar. "You look like hell," she says finally. Her voice is lower than you remember, rougher, like gravel dragged over rock. "You've been busy," you reply, your eyes flicking to the scar. A ghost of a smirk touches her lips, humorless and fleeting. The sea demands a toll. She takes a sip of her drink, her gaze never leaving yours. "So, you felt it. It's not a question." You nod slowly. A wave of guilt big enough to sink a freighter, followed by a stubbornness that could crack a planet. Figured it had to be you. The smirk vanishes. Don't get poetic. They're calling it resonance bonding. Some kind of technological backlash from the new gates. Lucky us. The sarcasm in her voice is thick enough to be a physical barrier. It's been getting stronger. I can feel you, over my shoulder, like a ghost. I feel your focus. That single-minded, damn the consequences drive. It's distracting. The feeling is mutual, you say. The words colder than you intend. Your self-loathing is a constant, low-grade fever I can't seem to shake. Her knuckles turn white where she grips her glass. The air between you crackles. The old wounds, the ones you've both pretended were long-healed scars, are ripped open with a handful of words. The argument you never had after Alara's death is suddenly here, breathing in the foul air of the drowned rat. "I'm going to the Sunken City," she repeats, her voice low and intense. The logs from the sea serpent's kiss were corrupted in the accident, all except for one fragmented data packet. It mentioned a pre-cataclysmic energy signature, a relic. They were diverting to investigate it when the cascade failure hit. Your heart clenches. You've been through every scrap of the official report, every redacted line. You never saw that. She must have gotten her hands on the raw, unredacted data. How? Why tell me this? You ask, your voice tight. "Because I need a cartographer," she says, the words tasting like ash in her mouth. "The best one. The abyssal trenches around the sunken city have shifted since the last survey. The old charts are useless, a death trap. And you're the only one obsessed enough to have mapped the new approaches." Obsessed. The word hangs in the air, your flaw named and thrown back in your face. "And why should I help you?" you press, leaning forward. "You walked away, Brenna. We were supposed to face the inquiry together. You vanished. Now, for the first time, you see a crack in her iron facade. The guilt you felt through the bond now flickers in her own eyes. It's raw, real. I couldn't, she whispers, the sound nearly lost in the bar's noise. I couldn't stand on that platform and listen to them call it an accident, an equipment malfunction. I was the one who signed off on the pressure seals for that observation module. I was the one who told Alara it was safe. The confession hits you with the force of an implosion. This was her transgression, the source of her pilgrimage. The guilt you felt wasn't just survivor's guilt, it was specific. It was the belief that she was responsible. Brenna, you start, but she cuts you off. No, don't. I'm not looking for forgiveness. I'm looking for the truth. That relic, the energy signature, I think it's connected. I think something in that city caused the failure. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't me. And I am going to prove it. Her gaze is feverish, her goal of redemption laid bare. You want to find the kiss. I want to find what sank it. Our paths lead to the same patch of dark, whether we like it or not. And this bond, it's a leash. We're stuck with each other. We can either pull in the same direction, or we can strangle each other with it. She's right. She's maddeningly, infuriatingly right. Your solitary obsession has been invaded by her quest for absolution. The journey to the Sunken City, a place of myth and legend whispered about by deep-sea explorers, is no longer just your pilgrimage. It's now a shared one. You lean back, the rough wood of the booth pressing into your spine. The hum of the resonance bond is a quiet thrum in the back of your mind, a connection you can't sever. You feel the frantic hope churning beneath her iron control, and you know she can feel the cold, hard weight of your loss. My sub, you say, the words a surrender. The Nautilus Echo, docked at Pier 7. We leave on the morning tide. You handle weapons and external systems. I handle navigation and charting. We don't talk about the past. We find the city. We find the wreck. We find the truth. And then we go our separate ways. A flicker of relief, so powerful it feels like your own, washes over you from her side of the bond. She nods slowly, her grip on her glass finally relaxing. Agreed. You stand up, tossing a few credits on the table to cover her drink. You don't offer a handshake. You don't say another word. You just turn and walk away, pushing back through the smoke and noise, leaving her alone in the shadows of the booth. As the door to the drowned rat swings shut behind you, cutting off the noise, you feel it again, that cold, relentless determination. Her determination. But now, it's pointed in the same direction as yours. Down, into the endless, crushing black of the Obsidian Sea. The Nautilus Echo is less a vessel and more a scar with a viewport. Its outer hull, a composite of tungsten carbide and ablative plating, is a patchwork of repairs and reinforcements, each telling a story of a close call with crushing pressure or aggressive abyssal fauna. It's your sanctuary, your laboratory, your tomb in waiting. Every switch, every screen, every pipe in its cramped interior is familiar to you by touch alone. Now, that familiarity is gone, tainted by the presence of another. Brenna moves through the narrow confines of the cockpit with a practiced economy of motion, her presence a constant, low-grade irritant. She's taken over the tactical and engineering station to your right, her fingers flying across control panels that were once your exclusive domain. The air inside, usually smelling of ozone, hot metal, and your own solitary existence, is now tinged with her scent, something sharp, like machine oil and unresolved anger. Pressure at 500 atmospheres and holding, she reports, her voice tinny over the internal comms, even though she's only 5 feet away. Hull integrity is nominal. All systems green. I can read the board, Maelstrom, you reply, your eyes fixed on the main viewport. Outside, the world is gone. There is no up or down, no light save for the powerful forward beams of the Echo, which cut a cone of white through an infinite, swirling soup of marine snow. The Obsidian Sea is not water as surface dwellers know it. It is a thick, heavy medium, dense with particulates and strange deep-sea minerals that give it its name. The pressure here is a living thing, a constant, monstrous hand squeezing the hull from all directions. The groans and creaks of the submersible are not signs of failure, but the sounds of it breathing under the strain. Your station is a semicircle of screens displaying bathymetric data, sonar returns, and gravimetric readings. A holographic projector in the center shimmers with a 3-dimensional wireframe map of the seabed you are currently traversing. It is a jagged, hostile landscape of volcanic vents, razor-sharp ridges, and canyons, so deep their bottoms are purely theoretical. This is your art, weaving a safe path through this. Approaching the umbral trench, you announce, your voice all business. The descent angle will increase by 40 degrees. Prepare for a pressure spike. Acknowledged, she clips back. You gently manipulate the flight stick, easing the Echo into a steep dive. The sub groans a lower, more plaintive note as the pressure intensifies. On the screen, the numbers climb at an alarming rate. 600 atmospheres, 700, 850. A bead of sweat traces a path down your temple. This is the part of the journey you live for the edge of the envelope. The dance with physics, where one miscalculation, one microscopic hull fracture, means instantaneous, painless oblivion. Through the bond, you feel a surge of her anxiety. It's a tight knot of fear, expertly controlled but undeniably present. It's an unwelcome distraction. You filter it out, focusing on the numbers, the feel of the sub, the song of the straining hull. For hours, you descend in a tense, professional silence. You chart, she monitors. The only sounds are the hum of the CO2 scrubbers, the ping of the active sonar, and the groaning of the deep. The bond becomes a quiet, background thrum. You can feel her focus, a mirror of your own, as she reroutes power to the structural integrity fields and monitors the external sensors for threats. For a moment, it almost feels like a partnership. Energy reading, she says suddenly, her voice sharp, cutting through the calm. Bearing 309er. Faint but unusual. It's not geological, and it's not biological. You bring up her sensor feed on one of your auxiliary screens. She's right. It's a thin, erratic thread of energy, a signature you've never seen before. It pulses with a strange, unnatural rhythm. It's coming from that research outpost, you murmur, cross-referencing the location with your charts. Abyss Lab Sigma. It was supposed to have been decommissioned a decade ago, after a funding cut. Looks like someone recommissioned it, Brenna says grimly. And then something happened. You adjust your course, nudging the echo towards the source of the reading. As you draw closer, the outpost comes into view, illuminated by your searchlights. It's a horrifying sight. The small, modular habitat, built to withstand the immense pressure, has been torn open. A huge, gaping hole is ripped in its main dome, the edges of the thick plasteel curled outwards, melted and twisted as if by some impossible heat. Debris floats in a lazy, suspended cloud around the wreck. Gods above, Brenna breathes. The awe and horror in her voice bleed through the bond, and for once, you feel it too. You pilot the echo on a slow, careful pass, your external cameras recording every detail. There are no bodies, no signs of a struggle, just catastrophic, inexplicable destruction. What could do that? She asks, her voice barely a whisper. An internal explosion would have imploded the structure, not blown it out. I'm picking up residual particles, you say, your fingers dancing across a spectral analysis console. High concentrations of nothing. That's not right. The readings are nonsensical. The sensors are detecting an absolute absence of energy in the particles clinging to the wreck, a void stain that is sucking in ambient radiation. It's a physical impossibility. You bring up the outpost's public logs, searching for a distress call, a final entry. The logs are wiped, all except for a single corrupted audio file from a junior xenobotanist, dated 3 days ago. You patch it through the cockpit speakers. Static crackles, then a young man's voice, tight with panic. Is not a creature. It doesn't hunt. It unweaves. We saw it on the long-range sensors, a shadow in the dark where there should be nothing. It doesn't reflect sonar. It absorbs it, consumes it. Brant, saltwater, he called it, a hunger in the dark. It's at the door. Oh gods, it's not knocking, it's erasing. The log cuts out in a burst of static, followed by a sound that will haunt you for the rest of your days. It's not a scream. It's a soft, final sigh, like air escaping a pricked balloon. Then silence. Brant Saltwater. The name drops into the cockpit's tense atmosphere like a block of ice. A legendary, almost mythical figure in the deep-sea community. A brilliant, reclusive explorer who pushed the boundaries further than anyone before vanishing without a trace 5 years ago. Rumor was he'd died chasing some impossible discovery. This log suggested otherwise. He was here, and he'd witnessed this unweaving, this hunger. A cold dread, colder than the abyssal water outside, seeps into your bones. The destruction of the outpost isn't random. The strange energy signature isn't a coincidence. And the name of a long-lost explorer appearing in a dead man's final words feels like a deliberate, chilling warning. A nocturnal weaver, Brenna says, her voice strained. She's staring at the spectral analysis, at the impossible nothing you detected. Someone who operates in the dark, weaving or unweaving things. What if Brant Saltwater isn't a witness? What if he's the cause? Her speculation hangs there, terrifying and plausible. Your quest for the sunken city, for the sea serpent's kiss, has just become infinitely more complicated. You are not the only one hunting for something in the deep, and the other hunter is not just a rival. It is a shadow that consumes light, a hunger that erases, a weaver of nothingness. And you are heading straight into its web, the midpoint, the place where the journey turns, where the path behind is lost, and the way forward is irrevocably altered. You don't know it's coming, of course. For you, it is just another moment of choice, another calculation in a long chain of them. You are deeper now than you have ever been before. The pressure gauge is displaying numbers that are more theoretical than tested. The hull of the Echo sings a constant, high-pitched keen of protest, a metallic song of atoms compressed to their breaking point. For days, you have been navigating a labyrinth of newly formed abyssal trenches, a direct result of recent seismic activity that has reshaped the entire region. Your charts are no longer just records, they are survival. There, you breathe, your voice filled with a reverence that borders on obsession. On the holographic map, a new feature has resolved from the sonar data. It's a geographic impossibility, a cartographer's fever dream, a Mobius fissure, a subduction trench that appears to twist back on itself, folding spacetime in a localized gravimetric anomaly. It's a transient feature, a geological scar that will collapse back into normalcy within the hour as tectonic plates grind on. To map it, to have empirical proof of its existence, would be the discovery of a lifetime. It would redefine planetary geology. It would make your name immortal. The obsession flares within you, hot and bright, a star consuming all else. This is more than just data. It's beauty. It's truth. It's the elegant, deadly mathematics of the universe laid bare. Unidentified biologicals, Brenna's voice cuts through your reverie, sharp as broken glass. Multiple contacts, closing fast. They're big. You tear your eyes from the beautiful, impossible fissure on the map and glance at her tactical screen. A swarm of red icons is converging on your position. Abyssal predators, likely drawn by the Echo's electromagnetic field. Evasive maneuvers, you say, your voice tight, your attention already drifting back to the fissure. You just need a few more minutes. One more high-resolution sonar pass. They're too fast, she says, her hands flying across her console. And they're not acting like normal predators. They're coordinated. A heavy thump rocks the submersible, followed by the screech of hardened claws on the tungsten hull. An alarm blares, a shrill, insistent pulse. Aft port thruster is damaged. Brenna shouts over the alarm. Losing propulsion stability. I need to go EVA to cut it loose before it tears itself from its housing and ruptures the hull. No, you say immediately, your eyes glued to the map. The fissure is already showing signs of decay, its unique gravimetric signature fluctuating. Just lock it down. We can ride it out. Ride it out. They're trying to peel us open like a ration can. If that thruster housing tears, the secondary plasma conduit will blow. We'll be incinerated. I'm going out. We are not aborting the scan. The words are out of your mouth before you can stop them, sharp with the fervor of your obsession. The choice is laid bare. The immortal discovery, the map that will change everything, versus the immediate, pressing danger. You feel a surge of pure, unadulterated fury through the bond. It's so strong it makes you physically recoil. It's Brenna's rage, directed entirely at you. Is your goddamn map more important than our lives? The thought isn't yours, but it screams through your consciousness as if it were. Before you can answer, she's already moving. Cover me, she snarls, grabbing an emergency pressure helmet from its rack. She cycles the external airlock, and a moment later, her small, armored figure appears on the external camera feed, bathed in the eerie glow of the floodlights. She's armed with a plasma cutter, moving towards the damaged thruster. The creatures are on her in an instant. They are horrifying bioluminescent monstrosities, a cross between a moray eel and a mantis shrimp, with rows of razor-sharp teeth and powerful, chitinous claws. Brenna moves with grim efficiency, firing bursts from a wrist-mounted pulse pistol to drive them back, the energy bolts dissipating into the crushing dark. You are torn. Your mind is screaming at you to complete the scan. The fissure is collapsing. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a moment of pure discovery that will never come again. Your life's work has been leading to this. Your flaw, your obsessive focus, has you in its grip, whispering that Brenna is competent. She can handle it. Just a few more seconds for the scan. You make your choice. You turn your back on the camera feed showing Brenna fighting for her life and focus on the mapping console. Your fingers fly, inputting the final scan parameters. The high-resolution sonar pings out, its waves tracing the impossible geometry of the Mobius fissure. Data streams onto your screen, beautiful, perfect, world-changing data. A surge of triumph, cold and intellectual, fills you. You've done it. A scream of agony not through the comms, but directly into your mind via the bond, shatters your victory. It is a blast of pure, white-hot pain. You spin around, your heart seizing in your chest, and look at the camera feed. One of the creatures has broken through her defense. Its claws have sliced through the armored shell of her suit at the thigh. Blood, instantly freezing into dark, crystalline flowers, plumes into the water. She's hit, and she's losing pressure. Her movements are becoming sluggish. Another creature lunges, and she barely gets an arm up in time, its claws screeching across her helmet's faceplate, leaving deep gouges. The map, the data, the discovery, it all turns to ash in your mouth. Brenna, you yell, grabbing the controls. You fire the main defensive systems, a wide arc plasma burst that vaporizes the water in a 100-foot radius, boiling the creatures closest to the hull and driving the others back with the shockwave. You activate the external recovery arm, maneuvering it with a desperate, clumsy haste. You manage to grab her, her limp form dangling in the mechanical claw, and pull her back towards the airlock. The entire time, her pain is your pain. A sharp, searing fire in your own leg, the feeling of cold seeping into your veins, the rising panic, the fight for consciousness. It's a violation, an agonizing, intimate connection to the consequences of your choice. You get her inside. She collapses onto the deck as the inner airlock door hisses open, her suit venting the last of its air. You tear her helmet off. Her face is pale as death, her lips blue. The gash on her leg is deep, a horrific, bloody wound. She looks up at you, her eyes filled not with anger, but with a weary, profound disappointment that is 1,000 times worse. "Did you get it?" she rasps, her voice a thread of sound. "Your precious map." You look from her bleeding, wounded form to the screen, where the completed, perfect map of the Mobius fissure is displayed. Your greatest achievement. And you have never felt so hollow, so utterly ashamed. "Yes," you whisper. She closes her eyes, a single tear tracing a path through the grime on her cheek. "Good," she says, her voice laced with a bitterness that scours you to the soul. "I hope it was worth it." Then she passes out. You are left in the sudden, ringing silence of the cockpit, the blare of a medical emergency alarm replacing the sound of battle. You are alone with your perfect map, the blood of your companion pooling on the deck, and the inescapable, crushing weight of what your obsession has cost. The journey has turned, and you know, with a certainty that chills you more than the abyss outside, that you can never go back. The silence is a living entity. It fills the cramped space of the Nautilus echo, pressing in on you with a weight equal to the 900 atmospheres of water outside. For 2 days, Brenna has been unconscious, strapped into the sub's single medical bunk. You've done what you can. You've sealed the wound with biogel, pumped her full of antibiotics and blood replenishers. Her vitals are stable, but she doesn't wake. Her unconsciousness has changed the nature of the resonance bond. It is no longer a conversation of sharp emotions and clashing wills. It is a one-way flood. You feel the dull, persistent throb of her pain. You feel the deep, cellular exhaustion of a body fighting to heal itself. And underneath it all, you feel the echoes of her dreams. They are fragmented, chaotic. Images of the sea serpent's kiss twisting in a groan of tortured metal. The face of Alara, not smiling as she is in your locket, but wide-eyed with terror. The gut-wrenching sensation of falling. And woven through it all is that same suffocating guilt, a constant, miserable drone. You are living in her nightmare, a punishment more fitting than any she could have devised. You have turned off the screen displaying the map of the Mobius fissure. You can't bear to look at it. Your triumph has curdled into a monument to your own monstrous selfishness. The obsession that has driven you, that has defined you, now feels like a disease. You look at your hands, the hands of a cartographer, and you see the instruments of her injury. There is nothing to do but push forward. You have taken over her duties, your mind split between navigating the treacherous seabed and monitoring the sub's engineering and life support systems. Sleep is a luxury you can't afford. You survive on caffeine patches and nutrient paste, your body humming with a low-grade tremor of exhaustion. On the third day, as you pilot the Echo through a field of towering black smokers, hydrothermal vents spewing superheated, mineral-rich water into the cold darkness, her voice, weak and raspy, crackles over the comm from the small aft cabin. Water. You nearly jolt out of your seat. You engage the autopilot, your hands trembling as you pour a cup from the recycler. You find her awake, propped up on one elbow, her face pale and drawn, but her gray eyes clear and focused on you. You hand her the water, your fingers brushing hers. An awkward, clumsy gesture. She drinks it down in 3 long swallows. How long? She asks. Almost 70 hours, you reply, your voice hoarse from disuse. She nods, swinging her legs over the side of the bunk, wincing as she puts weight on her injured thigh. The wound is covered in a thick, translucent patch of regenerated tissue. You did good work. It's a simple statement of fact, devoid of warmth. I had to, you say, the words feeling small and inadequate. Brenna, I'm sorry. She looks at you, her expression unreadable. For a moment, you think she will unleash the anger, the recrimination you so richly deserve. But she doesn't. Instead, she looks away, towards the small porthole that shows only absolute blackness. There's no room for sorry down here, she says, her voice flat. There's only survival. You made a choice. I paid the price. That's the math of the abyss. We move on. But through the bond, you feel the lie. You feel the deep, resonant hurt beneath her iron control. You feel the echo of betrayal. She is not moving on, she is burying it, packing it down with all the other pain she carries. It wasn't just a map, you find yourself saying, the confession spilling out of you, born of sleepless nights steeping in her pain. It was proof that there's something more than just darkness and pressure, something elegant, something that makes sense. When the kiss went down, nothing made sense anymore. The charts, the numbers, they're all I had left. Something solid. She is quiet for a long time. The only sound is the hum of the scrubbers and the distant hiss of the black smokers. Alara loved your maps, she says finally, her voice soft, and the sound of that name on her lips is a physical shock. She used to say you weren't charting the sea, you were composing music for it. She said you could see the patterns everyone else missed. The words are a knife in your chest. You turn away, unable to meet her gaze, and stare at the navigation console. We're close, you manage to say, your voice thick. The energy readings are getting stronger. The ones from the wreck of Abyss Lab Sigma. They're all converging on a single point ahead. The Sunken City. Brenna slowly, painfully, gets to her feet, using the wall for support. She limps over to her station, her face a mask of grim determination. Then, let's finish this. The dynamic between you has changed. The animosity is gone, replaced by a fragile, unspoken understanding. You have seen the cost of your flaw, and she has seen the wound that drives it. The bond between you is no longer a leash, it is a shared burden, a quiet space where her pain and your guilt meet and mingle. An hour later, you crest a massive undersea ridge, and the view through the viewport makes you both gasp. It is a city, an actual, impossible city. It spreads across the floor of a vast abyssal valley, a breathtaking vista of silent, majestic ruins. Towers of a strange, non-corroding black stone, smooth as polished obsidian, rise for thousands of feet, their tops lost in the oppressive darkness above. Intricate bridges, impossibly delicate, span between them. Wide avenues, designed for vehicles or creatures of a scale you can't imagine, lie silent and empty. A faint, internal luminescence emanates from the city itself, a cold, blue-green light that seems to be part of the very stone, casting long, eerie shadows. There is no life here, only a profound, ancient silence. And in the heart of the city, in a great, open plaza, lies your goal. The sea serpent's kiss. It is broken-backed, twisted, a modern machine ghost haunting an ancient tomb. Its hull is gashed and torn, but it is recognizably her ship. Your search is over. Your breath catches, a painful, ragged thing. After all these years, you slowly pilot the Echo down, your lights sweeping across the dead city. The place radiates a palpable aura of wrongness. The energy signature that you've been tracking is a roar now, a silent scream that makes your teeth ache and the sub-sensors flicker erratically. You bring the Echo to a stop, hovering a few hundred feet above the wreck. This is it, the moment you have dedicated your life to, the end of the map. You reach for the stardust locket hanging around your neck. Your hands are shaking. You have to see her. One last time, here. You close your eyes, holding the locket tight, and think of Alara. The locket warms, and her image flickers into being in its depths. Her smile, her eyes, the ghost you have chased across the bottom of the world. A sense of peace, of finality, settles over you. It is a sad, quiet thing. You can let go now. You can. We have company, Brenna's voice is a whip crack of tension. Your eyes snap open. You look at her tactical screen. A single contact. It appeared from nowhere, as if it simply coalesced out of the shadows of the city. It is small, the size of a one-man submersible, and it is moving towards you with impossible speed and silence. It doesn't register on sonar. It has no heat signature. It is a hole in the world, a moving patch of nothing. The same nothing you detected at Abyss Lab Sigma. The shadow, the weaver, the hunger. Brant Saltwater has found you. He doesn't hail you. There are no warnings, no demands for surrender. The small, matte black submersible, shaped like a predatory shark, simply stops a short distance away, hovering silently in the eerie, blue-green glow of the sunken city. It is a void against the faint light, absorbing it, a manifestation of the unnatural emptiness you detected before. What's he doing? Brenna asks, her hands hovering over the weapon's console. Her leg is braced against the bulkhead, her knuckles white. You can feel her readiness, a thrum of violent potential coursing through the bond. He's waiting, you reply, your own hands gripping the Echo's controls. Your cartographer's mind is racing, analyzing the situation not as a battle, but as a complex, three-dimensional map of threats and possibilities. The city below is a maze. The wreck of the kiss is the objective. And this silent, black shark is the monster in the labyrinth. He wants the city's core, you surmise, your eyes flicking between the silent sub and the energy readings pulsing from the plaza below. The relics, the logs from the kiss mentioned. It has to be the source of that energy signature. He's not getting it, Brenna says, her voice a low growl. That's the answer. That's the proof. She powers up the Echo's primary weapon, a heavy plasma projector mounted on the dorsal spine. A low hum fills the cockpit as the weapon charges, the lights flickering under the power draw. Don't, you command. We don't know what he is, what that ship is capable of. Firing first is a death sentence. As if hearing you, the enemy sub moves. It doesn't accelerate. It simply is somewhere else. It blinks from one position to another, a flicker of movement too fast for the eye to properly track, leaving behind a brief, shimmering distortion in the water. It's impossible physics, a localized fold in space. He appears directly above you. Before Brenna can react, a lance of pure blackness shoots from the underside of his vessel. It's not a projectile. It's not a beam of energy. It is a tendril of absolute nothing, the same unweaving effect the dead xenobotanist described. It strikes the Echo's forward shield array. There is no explosion, no impact. The shield simply ceases to exist in that spot. The energy reading for that section of the grid drops to zero, not damaged, but gone. An alarm screeches, signaling a catastrophic shield failure. What was that? Brenna yells, her face stark with disbelief. He's erasing us, you say, the words cold with dread. You throw the Echo into a desperate dive, twisting the sub down into the silent streets of the dead city. The black submersible follows, blinking in and out of existence, always on your tail. What follows is a desperate, terrifying chase through the ancient, cyclopean architecture. You push the Nautilus Echo to its limits, your intimate knowledge of its handling the only thing keeping you from being smashed against the obsidian towers. You weave through arches, barrel roll down silent avenues, using the city itself as a shield. Each time saltwater gets a clear shot, another tendril of blackness lashes out, and another piece of your sub's defense or propulsion simply vanishes. He's not trying to destroy you. He's disabling you, dismantling you piece by piece. He's hurting us, you realize, looking at your navigation display. Your frantic evasions haven't been random. He has been subtly guiding you, cutting off escape routes, forcing you deeper into the city, towards the central plaza, towards the wreck of the sea serpent's kiss. The portside stabilizers are gone, Brenna reports, her voice strained as she fights to keep the sub from spiraling out of control. Main power is fluctuating. He's going to cripple us and leave us here to rot. No, you say, a desperate plan forming in your mind. He needs something from the city core, and he thinks we're going to interfere. We're going to give him what he wants. You wrench the controls, sending the Echo into a final, shuddering dive. You aim for the plaza, for the wreck itself. You bring the sub down hard, crashing into the ancient stone beside the broken hull of Alara's ship. The impact sends a groaning shudder through the echo, and half the lights die, plunging the cockpit into a terrifying, flickering gloom. "Are you insane?" Brenna shouts, thrown against her harness. "He won't fire on the wreck," you gasp, your gamble laid bare. "If he wants the core intact, he can't risk hitting it. We're safe as long as we stay here." The black sub slows, hovering above the plaza like a carrion bird. The standoff is absolute. You are trapped, crippled, but shielded by the very thing you came to find. He is dominant, powerful, but unable to press his attack. The silence stretches. Then a signal appears on your comms panel, not a voice channel, a text-only, unencrypted broadcast. Simple, stark words appear on the screen. "Get out. You do not understand what you are tampering with." "Tampering," Brenna scoffs, her anger overriding her fear. "He's the one tearing reality apart, and he's accusing us." She opens a channel to reply, her fingers flying. "We want the truth of the sea serpent's kiss." The reply is instantaneous. "The truth is that you are all like children playing with a fusion core. This place is not a tomb. It is a prison. And the prisoner is waking up." A cold tremor runs down your spine. A prison. The prisoner is waking up. The words feel ancient, heavy with a meaning you can't yet grasp. Before you can process it, the black submersible begins to descend. It lands softly on the far side of the plaza. A hatch opens. A single figure emerges, encased in a sleek, black pressure suit that seems to drink the light. It's Brant Saltwater. He begins to walk towards you, his movements slow, deliberate. He's not carrying a weapon. "What is he doing?" Brenna whispers. "He's going to try and take the core himself," you say. He knows we can't move, but he doesn't go towards the center of the plaza, where the energy readings are most intense. He walks towards the wreck of the sea serpent's kiss. He walks towards a gaping hole in its hull, the very observation module Brenna has spent years feeling guilty over. "No," she breathes, her face a mask of horror and confusion. "What is he?" He reaches the wreck, and with impossible strength, pries a bent piece of the hull away. He reaches inside. When he pulls his arm back, he is holding something. A small, metallic object that glints in the echoes, damaged floodlights. It's a standard-issue deep-sea data recorder, the ship's black box. He holds it up for you to see. Then he turns and begins walking back to his ship. "He's got the logs," Brenna cries, her voice breaking with frustration. "The proof. He's going to take it and destroy it. The redemption she has fought so hard for, bled for, is walking away in the hands of a monster." In that moment, her desperation, her fury, her sense of utter injustice floods the resonance bond. It overwhelms you. It becomes your own. Without thinking, you override the safety protocols on the Echo's main reactor. You shunt all remaining power, every last drop, into the damaged plasma projector. "What are you doing?" Brenna asks, her eyes wide. "Getting our answers," you snarl. You fire. A brilliant, searing lance of white-hot plasma erupts from the echo, a desperate, final act of defiance. It crosses the plaza in a heartbeat. You aren't aiming for Saltwater himself, but for his ship, hoping to disable it, to trap him here with you. But you miscalculate. In the final moments, Brant Saltwater turns. He doesn't dodge. He doesn't raise a shield. He simply lifts an empty hand. And the impossible happens. The lance of plasma, an attack that could melt through a meter of tungsten, strikes his palm and vanishes. It doesn't explode. It doesn't dissipate. It is absorbed, sucked into him as if he were a black hole. For a single, terrifying instant, the seams of his black suit glow with a web of red-hot light, as if containing an unimaginable power. He stumbles, dropping to one knee. The data recorder falls from his other hand, clattering on the ancient stone. He seems weakened, drained. He gets close enough. The proximity, combined with the massive energy he just absorbed, does something to the resonance bond. It flares, overloading, creating a bridge not just between you and Brenna, but to him. And his mind, his entire being, crashes into yours. It is not a thought. It is not an emotion. It is an eternity of agonizing, soul-crushing hunger. You are Brant Saltwater. You are ancient, weary, and you have been starving for millennia. The hunger is not for food. It is a hunger for energy, for light, for existence itself. You feel it gnawing at you, a screaming void at the center of your being. You have one purpose, to contain it, to hold it back. You see the truth in a blinding, terrifying flash of insight. The cataclysm that reshaped the world wasn't an event. It is a thing. A sentient, hungry consciousness from outside of reality. And it is imprisoned here in the core of this city. The relics are not artifacts. They are the locks on its cage. And Brant Saltwater is not its servant. He is its jailer. The hunger you feel is not his own. It is the prisoner's, leaking out through cracks in the ancient prison. For years, he has been navigating the abyss, a nocturnal weaver mending the fraying edges of reality. He absorbs the leakage, taking the hunger into himself to keep it from spreading. It is a constant, agonizing process. The destruction of Abyss Lab Sigma wasn't an attack. It was a containment breach he failed to stop in time. He didn't unweave the station, the prisoner did, and he was there to clean up the mess. The Lumina incident, the Stargate catastrophe, it was a massive surge from the prisoner, its influence stretching across space, destabilizing the new technology. Brant has been trying to stop it all alone in the dark. He wasn't hurting you. He was trying to warn you away, to keep you from blundering in and weakening the prison further with your sub's energy fields. He wasn't trying to steal the Kisses logs. He was retrieving them because they contained the final, critical data on the prison's weakening state that Alara and her crew had stumbled upon just before the prisoner lashed out and destroyed their ship. He is not the antagonist. He is not the monster. He is trying to save the world, and you just shot him. The connection breaks, leaving you gasping, shaking, the cockpit of the Echo feeling like a cramped, cold coffin. You look out at the kneeling figure in the plaza, no longer a villain, but a tragic, solitary guardian. The twist isn't just a new piece of information. It recontextualizes everything. Your obsession, Brenna's quest for redemption, Your entire journey, it has all been a blind, ignorant stumbling that has threatened to unleash an apocalypse. You look at Brenna. Her face is ashen. Her eyes are wide with the same horrified understanding. She felt it too. Gods, she whispers, her voice trembling. What have we done? The revelation hangs in the silent cockpit, heavier than all the water in the Obsidian Sea. You and Brenna stare at each other, the same appalling truth reflected in your eyes. Every action you've taken, every choice driven by your grief and her guilt, has been a step towards utter catastrophe. You were the children playing with the fusion core. Outside, Brant Saltwater struggles to his feet. He looks frail, the absorption of your plasma blast having cost him dearly. He ignores the fallen data recorder and starts limping towards the very center of the plaza, where a low, obsidian dais hums with the energy of the contained prisoner. He's going to try and reinforce the seal, you realize aloud, your mind racing to catch up with the new, terrifying reality. But he's too weak. Taking that blast, it drained the energy he uses to contain the hunger. If he tries to interface with the core now, the prisoner will overwhelm him. It'll be free. We have to help him, Brenna says, her voice resolute. The Iron Pilgrim has found a new, terrible cause. Her quest for redemption is no longer about clearing her own name. It's about atoning for a mistake that could unmake the world. But the Nautilus Echo is a dead thing, its systems fried, its hull breached. You are trapped. Your hand, by instinct, goes to your chest, to the stardust locket. It feels warm against your skin. Fused silicate dust from a famous supernova remnant. A supernova, the single most energetic event in the universe, the violent birth of new elements. An idea, wild and desperate, sparks in your mind. The locket, you say, your voice barely a whisper. It emanates warmth. That's energy, tightly controlled, stable energy from its creation. A supernova is creation. The prisoner, it's the opposite. It's uncreation. Unweaving. Brenna looks at you, her eyes slowly widening as she follows your impossible logic. You think you can use it to what? Counteract the void. No, you say, unclasping the chain from around your neck. You look down at the locket, at the silent, captured ghost of Alara. Not counteract. Focus. Stabilize, like a lens. Brant absorbs the energy. What if the locket can help him regulate it, refine it? It resonates with thoughts, with people. Maybe it can resonate with the core itself, reinforcing the patterns that make up the prison, instead of just plugging the leaks. It's a mad gamble, a theory based on a trinket and a ghost. But it's the only one you have. The decision is made in silence. There is no other choice. You check the readouts for the plaza. The water pressure is immense, but the ambient temperature is stable. A standard pressure suit won't last long, but it might last long enough. There is one emergency suit left. I'm going, Brenna says immediately. No, you reply, your voice firm. You're injured. Your leg won't hold. It has to be me. A flash of protest, of her ingrained need to be the one to face the danger, to atone, flares through the bond. But it's followed by the cold, logical acceptance of her physical limits. She nods, her jaw tight. Putting on the suit is a slow, clumsy process in the darkened sub. As you seal the helmet, Brenna's voice crackles in your ear. The comms are down. But the bond, I'll be with you. I'll see what you see. You nod, though she can only feel the gesture. You cycle the airlock, the familiar sequence now filled with a terrifying finality. The outer door opens, and the crushing, silent cold of the Obsidian Sea floods in. You step out onto the ancient stone of the plaza. The pressure is immediate, a solid, tangible force trying to crush you. Every movement is a struggle. You feel small, fragile, a mayfly in a monument. Through the bond, you feel Brenna's sharp intake of breath as she experiences the pressure through you. You start moving, one slow, deliberate step at a time, towards Brant. He has reached the central dais and has placed his hands upon it. The black stone of the platform is now pulsing with a malevolent, sickly purple light. Cracks of the same light are spreading across the plaza floor like a breaking sheet of ice. The prisoner is stirring. The hunger is escalating, a psychic scream that you can feel even through the hull of your suit, a desire to consume, to erase everything. Brant's entire body is shuddering, the seams of his suit glowing with contained energy as he fights a losing battle. He is a dam about to burst. You finally reach him. You place a hand on his shoulder. He flinches, but doesn't turn. Through the thick gloves of your suit, you feel a terrifying cold emanating from him. Salt water, you shout, your voice a tinny buzz in your own helmet. Brant, you can't do it alone. He turns his head slowly. Through his visor, you see a face that is ancient, gaunt, his eyes burning with a weary, impossible light. He doesn't seem to recognize you as the one who shot him, only as another variable in a final, failing equation. You hold up the locket. It glows with its own gentle, warm light, a tiny star against the encroaching void. This can help, you project, trying to force the thought, the intent, through the bond for both him and Brenna to understand. It can focus the energy, stabilize the matrix. Let me help. For a moment, he hesitates. Then, a massive tremor shakes the entire city. A tower in the distance crumbles, collapsing in absolute silence, its dust swallowed by the oppressive water. He has no choice. He gives a single, curt nod. What follows is beyond words, beyond coherent thought. You place the locket on the dais, directly between his hands. He places his hands over yours, and the circuit is complete. The power that flows into you is apocalyptic. You are connected to Brant, to the locket, and to the screaming, hungry void at the heart of the prison. The hunger is a physical thing, trying to pull your mind apart, to unweave your very consciousness. But you are not alone. Through the bond, Brenna is there. Her iron will, her ferocious determination, becomes a shield around your mind. She is the anchor. Through your shared connection, you feel her lend you her strength. Brant is the conduit. He draws the leaking chaos of the prisoner into himself, a torrent of raw, negative energy. But instead of just containing it, he channels it through you. You are the fulcrum, the cartographer. Your mind, trained to see patterns in chaos, to find order in the abyss, does the impossible. You don't fight the hunger, you map it. You trace its currents, you define its edges. You use the stabilizing, creative energy of the locket as your reference point, your North Star. You begin to weave the chaos back into its cage, not with force, but with understanding. You are reinforcing the prison from the inside out, using the prisoner's own energy against it. An image of Alara flickers in the locket, her smile serene. And you finally understand. The locket isn't about holding onto the past. It's about carrying the best parts of it forward. Her love, her light. It's the pattern you use to rebuild the cage. You let her go, not as a loss, but as a gift, a final act of love to save the future. The sickly purple light of the dais recedes. The cracks in the plaza floor heal themselves. The psychic scream of the hunger fades, replaced by a deep, resonant hum of stability. The void is caged once more, stronger than before. It is over. The energy recedes. You collapse to your knees, your mind and body utterly spent. Brant slumps against the dais, his suit no longer glowing. He looks up at you, and through his visor, you see something that shocks you more than anything else. A faint, weary smile. The cartographer, he rasps, his voice somehow audible. A psychic whisper through the remnants of the bond. It needed a map. He has been a jailer, holding the line with brute force for years. He never thought to understand his prisoner. You did. You didn't just save the world. You gave him a new way to guard it. A better way. Brenna's relief floods you, warm and bright. You did it, she thinks, a thought so clear it's like she's standing next to you. You crazy, obsessive bastard, you did it. You look down at the locket. Its light is dimmer now, much of its energy spent. But it still glows. You pick it up. You have a choice. Do you leave this place to its solitary guardian, your part in the story finished? Or do you accept the new map you've just drawn? You look at Brant. He is saved, but he is still a prisoner, bound to this city. Then you think of Brenna in the crippled sub, her quest for redemption fulfilled in a way she never imagined. A hard moral choice surfaces. Brant has carried this burden alone for so long. Is it right to leave him to it, now that you know? Is it Brenna's place to take over, to find her final penance in an eternal vigil? A new path unfolds in your mind. This prison doesn't need one jailer. It needs wardens. It needs a cartographer to monitor the patterns, and an iron-willed guardian to enforce the boundaries. You look towards the Nautilus Echo. You know what you have to do. The world doesn't need another chart of a dead trench. It needs people willing to stand watch in the dark. Months have passed. The hum of the astral bloom is the same, a constant, soothing drone. The view from the observation deck is unchanged, a silent, majestic serenade of light and dust. The chrome is just as polished, the indigo carpet just as plush. The station is the same, but you are not. You hold a glass of crisp, chilled water, the condensation cool against your calloused fingers. You no longer look out at the stars and see an escape, a beautiful void to lose yourself in. You see a frontier. You see a home to be protected. Your work has changed. You are still a cartographer, But your maps are no longer for sale to the highest bidder. They are classified, sent only to a single encrypted address. You chart the deep, but you are not looking for relics or scientific curiosities. You are monitoring the prison. You are watching for the faintest tremor, the slightest shift in the pattern, a cartographer standing guard. The Lumina incident was eventually contained, the official report citing a confluence of rare energy phenomena and technological flaws. The truth remains buried, known only to 3 people. The world went on, blissfully unaware of the abyss it had stared into. Brant Saltwater is no longer a ghost. He is your colleague. He remains in the Sunken City, his hunger gone, replaced by a weary sense of duty. He is no longer just a jailer. He is a warden, a scholar of the ancient prison, using your methods to understand and strengthen the containment. His messages, sent via a secure, deep-range comms system salvaged from the Kiss, are terse, filled with data, but with an undercurrent of something you can only describe as gratitude. And Brenna, the Iron Pilgrim, found her destination. After you were rescued, a long, complicated process involving a creatively edited distress call and a plausible story about seismic activity, she made her choice. She did not take on an eternal vigil. Instead, she took the logs from the sea serpent's kiss, the ones you and Brant recovered, and used them, not to expose a conspiracy, but to quietly, systematically revolutionize deep-sea safety protocols. Her guilt, once a destructive force, was forged into a shield for others. She now runs the top submersible safety and training academy in the system, ensuring no one ever has to face what Alara did. Her redemption was not in sacrifice, but in service. You lift the Stardust locket, which now hangs again from its chain around your neck. It is cooler now, its light much softer, a gentle ember rather than a bright coal. Its great work is done. You close your eyes and think of Brenna. An image of her flickers in its depths. She's standing on the observation deck of a training vessel, her expression stern but her eyes proud as she watches a new generation of pilots. She is scarred, she is strong, and she is at peace. The bond between you is a quiet thread now, a cord of shared history and mutual respect, no longer a source of pain. Then you think of Alara. Her face appears, faint and gentle as a half-remembered dream. The ache in your chest is gone, replaced by a quiet, warm fondness. You have found her. You have understood her sacrifice. You have honored her memory not by clinging to her ghost, but by helping to save the world she loved. You have finally let her go. A service bot glides to your side, offering a silent refill. You shake your head, a small smile touching your lips. You take one last look at the cosmic panorama, at the swirling nebulae, and the distant, burning stars. The serenade is beautiful, but your place is no longer here, watching from a distance. Your place is in the deep, charting the darkness, holding the line. The obsession is gone, replaced by purpose. The Obsidian cartographer has a new sea to map, the fragile peace between the world of light and the prisoner that sleeps in the dark. And for the first time in a very long time, the path ahead is clear.